Scrapbook time. Almost done here. Pope urges Muslims to battle terrorism. Pope Benedict XV1, so that would be 16th, the 16th. Pope Benedict the 16th had been cautious about making links between Islam and terror strikes during his 4-month papacy, but he chose his first major address to Muslim leaders to issue a stern warning that terrorism risked exposing the world to the darkness of a new barbarism. The 78-year-old pontiff urged Muslims to join Christians in trying to combat the spread of terrorism and said Muslim leaders had a great responsibility in educating younger generations. He later got a rousing welcome from hundreds of thousands of Roman Catholic youths and other pilgrims as he arrived at Marienfeld for an outdoor evening service as part of the church's World Youth Day Festival. UN tests support Iranian claims. UN nuclear agency tests have concluded that traces of highly enriched uranium on centrifuge parts were from imported equipment rather than from any enrichment activities by Iran, a senior Western diplomat said Saturday. The findings support Iran's claims that the material entered the country together with centrifuge parts provided by Pakistan. The United States has alleged the material was produced by Tehran, and the particles were evidence that Iran was experimenting with producing highly enriched uranium, which is only used in nuclear weapons. Rogers on the hot seat. Huh. I think this is still preseason maybe here. Cause this is when he was still a backup, I assume. Yeah. Yeah, Favre was still on the team. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers was still the backup. But at this time, he was on the hot seat. U.S. military releases nearly 1,000 detainees from Abu Ghraib. The U.S. military announced Saturday that it released nearly 1,000 prisoners from Abu Ghraib prison over the past few days in response to a request by Iraqi authorities. The move, the largest prisoner release to date, followed appeals by Sunni representatives to start releasing thousands of prisoners who have been languishing in the jail for months without being charged. After a meeting with President Jalal Talabani on Thursday, Sunni negotiator Salah al-Mutlaq said the president agreed to release many detainees before the October 15th referendum on the Constitution. Al-Mutlaq said hundreds of detainees, most of them Sunni Arabs, were to be set free. The U.S. command said the prisoner release marks a significant event in Iraq's progress toward democratic governance and the rule of law, those chosen for release are not guilty of serious violent crimes such as bombing, torture, kidnapping, or murder, and all have admitted their crimes, renounced violence, and pledged to be good citizens of a democratic Iraq, the U.S. statement said. So close to being done here. The Packers' elite offensive line was shattered on the first day of free agency when Rivera took a $9 million bonus to go to Dallas, and Wall accepted an $11.5 million bonus from Carolina. I believe that's talking about the offensive lineman there. Iraqis will try again to draft constitution. The Speaker of Iraq's parliament announced a one-day extension early today in talks on Iraq's new constitution, a fourth attempt to win Sunni Arab approval, but he said that if no agreement is reached, the document would bypass parliament completely and be decided in an October 15th referendum. Burglary suspect caught in northern Minnesota. A 40-year-old burglary suspect who went on the run Friday evening was caught Saturday, the Trempealeau County Sheriff's Department said. Authorities would not release the suspect's name, but said he was captured about 4 p.m. in St. Louis County, Minnesota. There's a St. Louis County in Minnesota? And remained in custody there early Saturday evening. The man came to the attention of Trempealeau authorities at 2:10 p.m. Friday when the Jackson County Sheriff's Department requested help in locating a vehicle and 2 suspects from a residential burglary that occurred in their county. Minutes later, a Trempealeau County deputy spotted the vehicle northbound on Highway 53 between Osseo and Pigeon Falls, Wisconsin. A female subject was taken into custody, and the male ran on foot into the wooded area. Okay, Anne Frank home inspires new September 11th museum. Days before the 4th anniversary of the 2001 attacks, a photographer is offering intimate images of death and love inside Ground Zero at a new museum that brings you nose to nose with the smoldering pit. If people want to come past the security gates and see what our world was like down in the hole, this is as close as they can come to it, said Gary Marland Susan, the official Ground Zero photographer for the Uniformed Firefighters Association, the city firefighters' main union. Susan spent 8 months at the site with recovery workers searching for the remains of the 2,749 people who died on a sunny September morning, including 343 firefighters. His time in the pit comes alive at the Ground Zero Museum workshop of photographs, videos, and artifacts opening September 8th. Last year, Susan, maybe it's pronounced Suzanne. It seems weird calling a guy Susan, but it's spelled S-U-S-O-N. But that's the last name of this male person. Suzanne? Last year, Suzanne went to Amsterdam, Netherlands, and visited the home of Anne Frank, the Jewish teenager who wrote a diary of her life before the Nazis sent her to Bergen-Belsen death camp. Within 2 hours of being in there, I felt like I'd come to know this little girl. It put a face on the Holocaust, said the 33-year-old Suzanne. I went back to the hotel and cried. The experience inspired him to create the 1,000 square foot museum whose rooftop he stood upon in 2001 to take images of the Trade Center collapse. I felt if I could create something that would have an effect on people similar to the one the Anne Frank Museum had on me, it could help people connect more to 9/11. If you can't connect, you can't heal, he said. At the second floor museum in Manhattan's meatpacking district, visitors are met by three-dimensional displays of photographs that pull the viewer close to the terror, dirt, sweat, and death. Terror, dirt, sweat, and death. Well, that's what happened in the slaughterhouse before it ended up in the meatpacking district. Terror, dirt, sweat, and death. Suzanne took one of the first photos of the firefighter honor guard that carried remains as they were found. He shot the scene in close-up as he did other moments, such as a firefighter helping carry out the remains of his own son. The museum has tangible vestiges of the Twin Towers, including pieces of window glass, lobby marble, and jagged beam steel. One display case holds a beer can from 1971 when construction workers building the new towers shoved it between two steel beams before sealing them. The can was pried from the metal at ground zero, twisted and rusty. One jarring item is a frozen clock. Its simple black hands stopped at 10:02, and the small one at 14. The South Tower collapsed first that day at 10:02 and 14 seconds a.m. The clock came from a room with a weightlifting bench used by PATH train workers. I guess I'll stop here because I'm almost done.